Millions of Americans earn what most people would consider a good income. Yet many still live only one unexpected expense away from financial trouble. At first, it doesn't seem to make sense. The United States has one of the world's largest economies. Salaries in many industries are higher than those in most countries. Consumer spending remains strong, and stores, restaurants, airports, and shopping malls are constantly busy. From the outside, it can look as though financial success is everywhere you look. But appearances don't always tell the whole story. Beneath that surface is a very different reality, one that millions of people experience every single month without anyone else noticing. Many households struggle to cover an emergency expense without borrowing money. Credit card balances continue to grow, savings often remain surprisingly small, and financial stress has quietly become part of everyday life for people who work full-time and do everything they believe they're supposed to do. So the real question isn't simply, why are Americans broke? A more revealing question is this: why do so many hardworking, educated people remain financially stuck even when they're earning enough to build long-term security? The answer has surprisingly little to do with intelligence or laziness. Instead, it often comes down to the financial system people live in, the habits they develop without realizing it, and the countless small decisions that seem harmless today but gradually shape their financial future over many years. To understand why this happens, let's imagine someone named Michael. Michael is 29 years old and lives in Denver, Colorado. He works as a project coordinator for a technology company. His annual salary is around $75,000, which sounds comfortable on paper. If you only looked at that salary, you might assume he's doing well financially. Many people would. But here's where the picture quietly begins to change. Every 2 weeks, Michael's paycheck arrives. Before he even sees the money, taxes, health insurance, and retirement contributions have already reduced the amount deposited into his bank account. Then, almost immediately, the money starts moving in another direction. His rent takes a large portion of his income. His car payment arrives a few days later, followed by auto insurance, internet, electricity, and his phone bill. Student loan payments leave his account automatically each month. He fills his gas tank several times just to get to work. Grocery prices are noticeably higher than they were only a few years ago, and even a quick visit to the supermarket often costs far more than expected. If you've ever checked your bank balance a week after payday and wondered where the money went, this pattern probably feels familiar. And Michael isn't finished spending yet. Streaming subscriptions seem inexpensive individually, but together they quietly consume another portion of his monthly budget. A gym membership renews automatically. A cloud storage subscription continues because canceling it feels inconvenient. Food delivery becomes common after long workdays because cooking feels like extra work after commuting and meetings. None of these purchases seem reckless. That's what makes this so easy to overlook. In fact, every expense appears completely reasonable when viewed on its own. Michael isn't buying luxury watches or expensive sports cars. He's simply living what many people would consider a normal middle-class lifestyle. So where does the financial pressure actually come from? The surprising part isn't one large purchase. It's the accumulation of dozens of ordinary ones. By the end of the month, however, something interesting happens. There's very little money left. Some months he manages to save a few $100s. Other months, an unexpected medical bill, a car repair, or a friend's wedding forces him to use a credit card instead. He tells himself he'll pay it off next month. Sometimes he does. Sometimes he can't. That small difference quietly changes everything over time. Months slowly become years, and despite working hard, getting occasional raises, and avoiding obviously irresponsible purchases, his financial position changes very little. He's busy. He's responsible. He's earning a respectable income. Yet meaningful financial progress always seems just out of reach. Michael isn't unusual. His story mirrors the experience of millions of Americans who feel trapped in a cycle where earning money and spending money happen almost simultaneously. The paycheck arrives, obligations consume it, and another month begins before meaningful progress has been made. At first glance, the explanation seems obvious. Maybe people simply don't earn enough. Income certainly matters, and rising housing costs, healthcare expenses, education costs, and inflation have placed genuine pressure on household budgets. There's no question those challenges are real. But here's where the story becomes more interesting. Income alone doesn't explain everything. If it did, higher earners would consistently avoid financial stress. Yet many don't. Why? Because one of the biggest financial problems isn't visible on a bank statement. It's hidden inside everyday behavior, modern consumer culture, and the way our financial environment quietly encourages spending long before it encourages building wealth. Most people never make one catastrophic financial decision. Instead, they make hundreds of perfectly reasonable decisions that, when combined, quietly shape their financial future. And once you begin to notice that pattern, you start seeing it almost everywhere. Because this isn't just about Michael. It's about understanding a system that influences millions of people every single day, often without them realizing it. And that's where the real story begins. If you enjoy breaking down the hidden psychology behind money, everyday financial behavior, and the systems that shape our decisions, consider subscribing. The more you understand these patterns, the easier they become to recognize in your own life. And sometimes, a single new perspective is enough to change years of financial habits.